The New York Rangers invested heavily into their goaltender. Will the hobby follow suit? This is episode 32 of the Hockey Card Haven podcast. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome. This is episode 32 of the Hockey Card Haven podcast, powered by Slabsharks, with myself, Mike Distefano, and Anthony Santini. We are a weekly Wednesday hockey card show diving deep into the world of hockey card collecting, flipping, and investing. You can find us up on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify for you on-the-go listeners, and soon to be up on Apple Podcasts as well. We'll let you know when that happens. What's going on, Anth? How you feeling this week?
What's up, buddy? Feeling pretty good. Definitely happy to finally be on Christmas break. So I've been spending the time hanging out and catching up on sleep. I actually went down to Meadowvale 4 rink stay near my house, played a little bit of stick and puck with the boys. That was a good time. I've never done that before. Just kind of show up to the local rink, throw on the skates, helmet, and sling it around. So that was pretty fun.
Like just a local skate? Just
Yeah, like it was just like a fresh sheet of ice, open to anyone for $5. Go on
Nice.
with a case of pucks, and yeah, we pretty much just had the end to ourselves, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, quick hour, something to do. Looking forward to it probably next week.
Very nice. Very nice. Like to hear it. I was watching the Leaf game last night, and I'm actually literally, as we speak, like I don't know why I didn't look this up before. I'm just looking it up now. What do you think? So Anthony Stolarz had an unbelievable game last night, and goaltending is kind of going to be a bit of a theme in the early portion of this podcast. So Anthony Stolarz had an unbelievable game for the Toronto Maple Leafs as they goalied the Devils, and he ended up stopping. Was it 3.6 goals saved above expectation? This was a player whose young guns you could pick up in the dollar bin literally for the past like 6 years. Like his young guns of 15, 16 young guns. It's been out there for 9 years since, like, he's the same as McDavid. They came out in the same series, same set. So you could have been picking this guy up for years for absolute dollars. And now all of a sudden he's the starter for Toronto. What do you think his young guns is up to? There's a sale today.
At least, I mean, minimum $15, like absolute bare minimum.
$23.
Jeez.
Up to $23 for Anthony Stolarz. And I think there's still room. I think that's 23 and climbing. I mean, this guy is starting to really become one of the premier goaltenders in the league. I know it's early and premature, and he's technically in a tandem right now. But if he can, really solidify himself and grab that net for Toronto, I mean, he's in the right market, the Maple Leafs. It's a premier position at goalie. And we've seen the goaltender market absolutely explode in Toronto specifically. At $23, there still might be some room in Anthony Stolarz. What do you think?
I mean, I think, too, for him as a backup right now to Joseph Woll is kind of what they're calling it. It is a tandem, but when you sign Joseph Woll to that 3-year deal last year, you kind of have the intention that he's going to take the reins with this team. But as of right now, it's Stolarz net. I think so. Game 1 of the playoffs, he's our starter if it really came down to a decision that had to be made. And I think Stolarz, like you mentioned, too, for $20, it still feels a little cheap for the starting goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, I remember last year when Joseph Woll was on that absolute hunt.
Yeah.
He was unreal. His young guns were touching at least minimum $30.
Yeah, like I think I made a couple sales at $40 last year when he really got cooking. Yeah.
And the way that Stolarz is playing right now, it's not that he's just a member of the Leafs and it's the off season and he just signed with the Leafs and that's what the hype is. The hype is now. The hype is happening right now. We just saw it last night. He stole 2 points, stole it from the New Jersey Devils. It was unreal.
Yeah. Pure thievery. Look at these. Look at this, though. This sold today. $22 for an Anthony Stolarz Premier Rookie Auto, number to $399. $22. You can still get his Future Watch Auto for under $65. One sold today on eBay, or was that? Yeah, today on eBay for $63 for Anthony Stolarz. I think that there's still a little bit of value to be had with his market. And I think it's an interesting conversation that could kind of bleed into what we wanted to talk about today with our kind of main topic was going to end up being about. And it's about goalies and whether or not they deserve the respect that they should be given in the hobby. I mean, it seems like the NHL is finally realizing how important goaltending is. And I think we saw that last week with the Rangers and them signing Igor Shesterkin, who's arguably the best goaltender in the world. Him and Connor Hellebuck, you could probably flip a coin on each night of who's better than who. But he absolutely obliterated the goaltending contract record last week. Igor Shesterkin signs a deal, 8 years, 92 million at $11.5 million AAV, making him the highest paid goalie in NHL history. And when you're the best at something, you look around the NHL, right? Austin Matthews, best goal scorer in the league. You're paying $500 for his young guns. The best player overall, Connor McDavid, paying $1,000+ for his young guns. You're in the same boat for the other greats like Alex Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby. You're paying hundreds of dollars for a Nathan McKinnon. Igor Shesterkin, although I know he's a goaltender, so they don't get as much respect, but he's in that same ilk as one of the premier top 10 best players on the planet. Why is his young guns only selling for about $150?
It kind of drives the conversation, I personally think, for the goalie market in the hobby as a whole, because when you look at any goalie market, you look at the top three goalies in the league, and this might be my personal preference. Maybe everyone might have a debate to it, but I think it's easily Shesty, Vasi, and Hellebuck. And you look at Vasi, and he's around 150 to $200. You look at Shesty, he's about 100 to $150. And then you look at Connor Hellebuck, who's arguably
The
two
best.
times the best.
Arguably the best goaltender. He's right now currently the front runner for the Vezina. He could pick his young guns up for what? 30, $40?
Not, I was even probably gonna say like $20. You could probably go to a card show and pick him up for $20. That's how cheap he is. His PSA 10s only, I believe, go for around $130. I just want to double check that too. But just to talk to the goalie market in a whole, I do think that goalies in general are undervalued, maybe because they're not as desirable. It's harder to collect them. It's hard to really have goalie collectors out there. Like, I'm looking at comps right now of Connor Hellebuck just selling this week, and they're selling for around $150 to $170. Like, we're looking at that price for a player like, do we want to say maybe Shane Wright, PSA 10, that $150 range for a guy that's still very unproven, still a third liner who's finally starting to break out just this past month, compared to the best goaltender in the NHL and arguably the best goaltender in the past 5 years, Connor Hellebuck, who probably will come off out of this season with another Vezina trophy. I think it's just criminal right now what's happening in the goalie market. And when you can find the cheap goalies, like we talked about it a couple weeks ago before the expo, looking at Samuel Urson, his young gun, able to find him in a dollar bin, and out of nowhere he pops off, had a shutout that weekend, I believe, or the week before, and out of nowhere $20-$30 for his young gun. So maybe there is an opportunity and a conversation to be had with the goalie market.
Yeah, I think that there totally is, and they are super slept on. The question is why, and will it change? I think that's ultimately what we don't know, and so far it obviously hasn't changed, and that's kind of just the way that it is. And I we know so far, like in this hobby, just what we've gone through over the course of the last few years. Like I've been in the hobby for a long time. Goal scoring sells, obviously. But like I said, goal scoring used to also pay the bills and people got paid to score goals in the NHL. Now, guys are getting paid to stop pucks because they're realizing, well, if you can find someone who could stop guys from scoring, it could be equally as valuable. And that's what the New York Rangers have found when they decide to give Shesterkin that contract, $11.5 million per season, like obliterating any other goalie AAV out there. I just wonder if you think that will eventually trickle into the hobby. Will the hobby start to appreciate it for what it is? Because right now the answer is no, they don't. And I don't know why that is. I'm sure we could go around and maybe at some point put out a little poll and ask why don't you invest in goalies? I think the answer that I personally would give for why I don't invest in goaltenders is because A, they don't play full 82 game seasons. You don't know when a goalie, I guess, is like as hot. It's not as easy to quantify as goal scoring is. And then there's a lot of ups and downs when it comes to goaltending. That's the real reason. And Bobrovsky is a perfect example of somebody who can be really, really hot, but then has also had many years where they just flat out he stinks. Like he's had a couple of real stinkers when he was in Philly, when he was in his first couple of years in Florida weren't all too good either. And then in between he had that stint in Columbus where he had a couple of stinkers, and those years ends up getting his coach fired. Just ask John Tortorella's thoughts on Bobrovsky that year. But that's why I think it is important to lock up goalies when they do finally break through and show that level of consistency. So like Vasilevsky, I would put in that realm. Hellebuck is now in that realm, and Shesterkin has been in that realm for the last few years. Like those are really the only three that I feel like I would feel confident and comfortable investing in, because just every other goalie seems to either injuries have like Thatcher Demko was someone at one point I invested in, but he just can't stay healthy, and that's been a big issue for him. And it's also, I think maybe another reason is a lot of it has to do with goaltending. Who's in front of you, right? And you got to win. And if your team isn't good in front of you, doesn't matter how many pucks you stop, you're probably not going to have a hot market. Whereas Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid, they've never won Stanley Cups, but guess what? They could score a lot, and people see that, and they love that, and they invest in it. That might be one of the other reasons as to why goalies and goaltending is hard to invest in and why it hasn't gotten the hobby love.
I think too, even when you look at goalies that are hopping around from market to market, Stolarz was one of those guys too, right? Like he wasn't able to find a home really until now this season, where his name's totally blown up. And even when you talk about some of the top 5 goalies in the NHL, Stolarz has to be in that conversation. The way he's been playing this year, there's no doubt you have to talk about him. I mean, heck, we were even talking about this guy maybe replacing Swayman for the third goalie for Team USA, which I personally, obviously we had that discussion, but I personally think that he should have taken Swayman's job at the Four Nations Cup. A side conversation, but talking about to the hobby as well, I personally think that if you could look for the cheaper, lower end young guns of goaltenders in the NHL, maybe the players that are up and coming, we're looking at Nico Dawes, a player that I've personally collected. It hasn't worked out the last 2 years for him. He had a big opportunity in New Jersey that kind of just trampled right over him. He could have had the starting job. It was borderline just handed to him when Akira Schmid went down. And when you look at it, you could collect these dollar young guns that are slowly in the minors, collect them, get 10, get 20, get 30, get 40. And when they start playing, if they become a starter, they could be worth 15, 20, 25, 30 slowly. And when you're sitting on a big pack of them, it's only off a 30, 40, $50 investment.
Yes, I think it's possible for that to happen, but I think you're going to have a lot more misses than makes when you do that though. Like a guy like Nico Dawes, the thing is you have to end up in the right market, right? Like
Yeah.
Stolarz is obviously in the right market, but then there's going to be guys like Peter Mrazek, who right now is in Chicago, but the team stinks. His numbers are great, but no
Mhm.
one really cares because he's not in the right market,
I
right?
mean,
So
even for Anthony Stolarz too, he borderline had the exact same season last year when you pull up the stats and analyze
yeah,
him. He was one of the best goalies through average and analytically. He was one of the better goalies in the entire league, but no one even batted an eye at him and didn't even think to pick up any of his cards. I actually sent you a link to a sale yesterday. I don't know if you'll be able to pull it up, but I messaged it to you of a $50 sale that I think is way too cheap for an Anthony Stolarz card. And when you brought up the point that there's still room to grow, I think that this card could still triple in value for what it sold for last night. I don't know if you see it.
oh, I got it here. Yep. Let's pull it up. There we go. Wow. $35 for a Future Watch auto patch for a FWAP of Anthony Stolarz.
Just
35
criminal.
US, which is about 50 Canadian. So 50 Canadian for this card. I mean, the Future Watch itself sold for 63. Someone got a deal. Someone got a real big deal here. Is there an issue with like anything. No, I don't know why this went for so cheap because I showed you a sale yesterday. There was a card, I guess maybe it was before the game, I suppose, is possible. But there was a card yesterday, his regular Future Watch auto went for 63. So for an extra or for $15 less, basically, you could have got yourself the flop.
I
Someone
mean,
that's crazy,
and for
crazy
even
steal.
two, I feel like the conversation needs to be had and brought up again because I was such a big advocate in the summer for rookie cards being for players on the team that they actually play for. And we had the conversation about Gunther, but I think even though people know about Anthony Stolarz, they don't know that he used to play for the Flyers. They don't know that his cards came out in 2015-16. They've probably seen this card for the past 5-6 years, but
Yeah.
they just kind of flip over it. They're used to flipping over it. They're not used to seeking for that name, looking for that name when you're going through the $5 bin. So I think that's another conversation to be had too. But now that we've showed some great cards, I mean, start hunting because I think there's still a lot of room for Stolarz.
It's funny because you and I, we go to the shows that they have in Hamilton, Ontario, the Michelangelo show, and they do them on every holiday. So we were at the one July 1st, which is obviously free agent frenzy up here in Canada. And when he signed, I
I
started
heard
asking around what the Young Guns went for. And right away, I was told $10 to $20 mostly, $10, $20, depending on who it was. And I was like, well, how much was it yesterday? Because guaranteed it was in the $2 bin the day before. All of a sudden, he signs with the Maple Leafs. It's a $10 to $20 card. Should have bought the ones when they were $10. I should have just bit the bullet and bought it and got it halfway up the come up, as opposed to now, if I want to invest, I got to buy it at the high of 23 instead of buying it at 10. I would have doubled my profits already. But c'est la vie. There's a lot of things I should have done in this hobby over the last 10 years that probably would have been a lot more beneficial from an investing standpoint.
to
Go ahead.
actually put a bow on this conversation too. I was at the Michelangelo show when Stolarz got signed, and I kid you not, right hand right here, I had a stack of Young Guns, and there were 6 Anthony Stolarz Young Guns in them, all at $1 a piece. I crap you not, looked at my phone, grabbed it, and went, "Oh my god, dude, Stolarz just signed with the Leafs." And the vendor said, "Oh my god, well those aren't $1 anymore."
Why?
Took him
Why?
back, and I was like, I mean, I'd still pay 5 a piece," and he was like, "I'm just gonna wait and see how this, market plays out for him," and I guess it was fair. I probably shouldn't have said anything, but maybe
No, you
that could be
shouldn't have. You should have been like, I'll take these for $6. Yep. Thank you very much.
should have done it, but I mean, it would be a good, that'd be a good conversation for a new topic that we're gonna do later on called, Card Courthouse. Very
Yes.
interesting, topic coming up later.
Yeah, we'll get into the card courthouse, and that is actually a good one. Was what that hobby, what that vendor did, was that right in the rule of law when it comes to the hobby? I don't know, but there's another one that we're going to get into. That's kind of a similar circumstance, and we're going to talk about whether or not this vendor is guilty or not guilty. We'll get to that in a little bit. The other thing that I want to talk about today is the Nashville Predators, man, and we talk usually we like to talk about players who are doing well, teams that are doing well, and the market thriving. But then there's also the other side of the coin, Anthony, when teams just absolutely flame out, in which the way that the Nashville Predators have. They're officially dead last in the league. They're 7-16-6 this year. Andrew Burnett, their head coach, has to be on the verge of getting ousted out of Nashville. It just is not going well, and very unexpected after the outstanding free agency that they had. They won the summer, right? They brought in Stamkos, they brought in Marchessault, they brought in Brady Shea. Like, this team had won the offseason, and everyone was ready to tout these guys, and was ready to roll out the red carpet for them, ride it all the way to the playoffs, except one man. Except one man, and that was Mr. Anthony Santini. Are you ready to celebrate? Are you ready to pat yourself on the back, or can the Preds get her back on the
I mean,
rails here, you
I
think?
I don't think they'll make the playoffs. I don't think it's gonna happen. Funny enough, when I put this in the doc, I wanted to go and I wanted to find so bad the clip from one of our episodes where I said that they weren't gonna make the playoffs, and you kind of did a little scoff at me, and you were like, "Oh, well, their issue was they couldn't score, and they just added Marchessault and Steven Stamkos." And I said,
Yeah.
"Well, hey, hear me out, man." And I mean, you were not interested in hearing me out, but I wish I was able to find it. I don't remember exactly what episode it was, but I
It
did
was
spend.
probably the Western Conference preview. Remember we did the East one week and then the West the next? It was probably the Western preview, and then when we were talking about Nashville, we went team by
Oh,
team.
I gotta take a look at that. Maybe we'll kick off the next episode with that. But I was looking at the July 4th episode when we did that right after free agency. I couldn't find anything. But I mean, I'm totally ready to say that this team won't be able to make the playoffs. I think they'll have a little bit of a trending up near game 60 where things start to mesh, because this is so unorthodox for a team built so well. One of the best goaltenders in the league up front, Ryan O'Reilly, Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault. So it all made sense heading into the season. But my biggest argument was these players need time to mesh. I was watching the Toronto Maple Leafs Nashville Predators game. There was 2 minutes left in the game. And for anyone that was watching, if you remember it, Predators got a power play. Steven Stamkos was on the wall, and he went to go kick it out to Yossi on top of the point, and it totally flew by Yossi and headed back to Saros in the other end. And that was the number one thing where I noticed watching the Predators. They just couldn't get in sync. And it does make sense. All these new players that have never played with each other before, all trying to make it all work. And I feel like that's where it really started to fall off for the Nashville Predators. But statistically, too, they're not looking great at all. And I know you added some stats here for some of the top end talent for that team.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talk about some of the big guns out there and the players who have somewhat of a hockey card market, right? A market in the hobby. And we always talk about how hype drives the hobby. Well, it can also work in the opposite way when there's no hype around you because your team stinks and because your game's falling off a cliff. Your market's gonna fall off a cliff too. Like these, the hockey card market is a stock market, and it performs the same way that the players perform themselves. And when you look at guys like Steven Stamkos, like Jonathan Marchessault, like Philip Forsberg, like UC Saros, like your hobby value is being impacted by your poor play on the ice. Like we're looking at Stammer, who's got just 7 goals, 14 points in 29 games. Like that's that's just awful. Like he's on pace for less than 20 goals and about what 40 points, 45 points or so. That's not the Steven Stamkos that the Predators gave. When they give him 30 something $1 million, 32 million, I think they gave him.
Mhm.
That's not what they were expecting when they signed him to that ticket. Same with Jonathan Marchessault, 7 goals, 15 points in 29 games. Philip Forsberg, like he's a guy too who last year 45 goals. He's only on pace for 25 goals this year, and all three of those markets are down pretty significantly. We could first start taking a look at Steven Stamkos. Now he doesn't have any PSA 10 sales lately, so I was looking into this PSA 9 numbers, and there was a sale that was as high as $213 back on July 2nd when he signed with the Nashville Predators. $213 Canadian for PSA 9 Steven Stamkos. The last sale, $104. That's a 50% drop
Oh my
since July.
goodness.
Year to year, down 25%.
And even for a player of his caliber that's already won and captain a juggernaut in the Tampa Bay Lightnings, the Tampa Bay Lightning, I'm very surprised to see his market drop drastically. You can almost
Dude,
look at a player like Patrick Kane too, of similar caliber, won the Stanley Cups, isn't playing well, but we haven't seen a massive drop in his price. I would expect that of Steven Stamkos, but even though his team's not playing well. He moved to Nashville, not playing great at all this year. His market has completely tanked, and that's the big number one surprise for me. Forsberg and Saros, who we'll get into next, I'm not as surprised, but Stamkos, I mean, he's a legend to this game, borderline a first ballot Hall of Famer, and you're telling me his price is going to drop 50%?
yeah, it's quite quite a staggering sight to see. Obviously, when you see something drop, that quickly. But when you don't play, that's what's happening, right? When you're not playing well, that's exactly what is going to happen. Funny enough, though, I'm looking at Patrick Kane's numbers since the start of the year. Is this the start of the year? Is that where I have this at? Yeah.
Hmm.
He's actually up 15%. Not
Oh,
like
really?
crazy amount of sales, but yeah, there was a sale for his PSA 10 Young Guns that went for, oh, hold on. Was this today? Yesterday? Date sold December 2nd. Okay, this one hasn't been updated yet. It's relatively the same. There was a sale for about $1,100, and that's actually down from 1,200. So actually, it is down a little bit. The ladder just didn't quite populate that one just
Hmm.
yet, apparently. But yeah, there was a sale last one PSA 10 for $1,100, which the average price is about 13 on a PSA 10 Patrick Kane. So even he, again, similar situation, not performing. Therefore, market's tanking. Philip Forsberg, PSA 10, last sold $60, Anthony. $60 for a Philip Forsberg PSA 10 Young Guns. Do you remember what you had to pay? Like what $60 would get you back in 2022, in 2020? Like any PSA 10 would get you that. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It could have been any lockdown Joe Blow defenseman. We're talking about a Justin Hall PSA 10 would have cost you
Yep.
$60
Yep.
back in 2022. Now you can pick up a Philip Forsberg who has a pop count of just 207, and it's still just a $60 Young Gun Canadian, which is down 50% year to year. And all summer, this card was soaring at about 120 to 170. There was about 10 or so sales throughout the summer of a PSA 10, hovered within that $50 range with a low 120 and a high of 170. And it's now just $60. Outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Um, that's a pickup. I'll say that. That is a pickup. At $60 for a PSA 10 Forsberg, I'd be picking that bad boy up as soon as I possibly can.
Oh, I
And
mean, for sure.
oh yeah, even UC Soros is down quite significantly, down 30% since the start of training camps, and down. His yearly high sale was $146 last January. His last sale, $64 for
Phew.
PSA 10 UC Soros.
Wow.
So, yeah, if your team's not doing well and you're not doing well, you're just not going to have a market. And especially in a place like Nashville, where it's just not a big hockey town. There's not a lot of card collectors out there outside of Nashville who are willing to collect these players and collect these cards. It's just the way it's going to be. And there's no flippers, which is also a big part of the market, which we'll get to in a second, who are looking to buy into these cards and like somewhat give it a stable market because there's no buyers. And if there's no liquidity to it, flippers aren't interested in these cards either. So you
Yeah.
have to find a collector, and those collectors, they're willing to sit and wait. And that's how you end up seeing these card prices fall. The demand gone. Again, supply and demand is the name of the game when it comes to hockey card, collecting, flipping, investing, however you want to call it. It's all about supply and demand, just like business in general.
No, for sure. I mean, even for Nashville, if you are looking to pick up Nashville players, you might be hearing and looking at these prices and say, look, Stamkos, criminally low. Forsberg, criminally low. UC Saros, a top 10 goalie in the league, criminally low. But as of right now, if you're looking to buy their cards, I don't think you're going to see a massive turnaround in price anytime soon, even if they start to play well. At the end of the day, the Predators are not going to contend for the Stanley Cup. At the end of the day, the Predators are not going to make the playoffs. And at the end of the day, I think the Predators are probably going to end up with a top 5 pick. Maybe my estimate of how their season is going to go, I'm going to puff my chest out a little bit too early, and maybe this statement right here will really come to kick me right back in the butt. But I do think Nashville is going to be very hard to collect moving forward, because in the next 6 months, we're not going to see any increase in price. I don't think there's going to be any drastic change. For me personally, when I go out to card shows and see people looking to pick up Nashville players, it's going to be really tough. And I feel like as of right now, if you're looking in the long run to maybe invest in Nashville players, I think maybe next year they could have a bounce back year depending on who they have in the crop system coming up. They could figure out something out after this tough year. But as of right now, Stamkos, Forsberg, Marchessault, Saros, I'm staying away very far away, like 20-foot pole, not even 10-foot pole.
A 20-foot, 30-foot, 40-foot pole. Just all of you gone. Not even on my radar whatsoever. All right. Let's get into this other little topic that we want to get into. It's the card courthouse. It's a new segment, and we're gonna probably, bring it up every now and then. But it sounds like there was a situation that was that had happened. I guess we'll call it. This is your baby, so this is your segment. You thought of this, so why don't you go ahead and explain it to the people?
So I was actually having a conversation with a listener last week at the local card show that we went to in Hamilton. You were set up, or I guess Copetown, it was not even Hamilton, but you were set up. I was walking around and we had a little bit of a conversation about something that happened a little bit back around expo time. I don't want to give too much detail to it just because I don't want this individual getting out because they said they kind of wanted to keep it under wraps. But I said, look, we're gonna talk about it on the pod, and I'm gonna bring up the situation. I think even for the card courthouse, we're gonna have Michael Distefano, Al's brother, the top dog. He's going to deem if this dealer is
Am I the
guilty or
judge?
not guilty.
Am I
You're the judge.
jury, and executioner?
So unfortunately, because it's a little later, the gavel that I ordered on Amazon was not ready or prepared for today. So it will hopefully be in attendance for the next next series of this.
Trying to think if I have anything. I can use my TV remote for now and just
Fair enough.
Court is in session.
Court is in session for sure. And if you are listening right now and you feel that you were in a similar situation, even in the past, I want you guys to either call in, send a message to our Instagram, send it to our TikTok, and it could be anonymous. You don't have to put your name, anything like that. We just want to help people get an idea if maybe the situation they were guilty, not guilty, and maybe have some outside voice to a situation that happens at a card show. So without further ado, Mike, I'm going to read this situation to you. So you have not read this yet. You have no idea what's going on here. There is no personal bias. I'm going to read it out and you're going to tell me your honest opinion. So here we go. So I attend my local card show every month with my son. We deal with the same vendors every time we go. However, last Sunday, I looked to purchase a card from a new vendor. The card was a Patrice Bergeron Young Guns in raw condition with no visible damage to it. I asked the vendor if there was any damage to the card. He told me the card was pristine. It was flawless, and the reasoning behind was his very high sticker in price as to why I decided to ask why the sticker was so high. In fact, he actually noted that he was planning to grade this Patrice Bergeron Young Guns once the Canada Post strike was over. With that assurance that he made, he thought the card was in great condition, and this made me feel better about my purchase. So I bought it. After leaving the card show, I arrived at home and was very eager to send the card to my collecting friends. To my disbelief, after taking the card out of the penny sleeve, there was a massive fingernail dent that the dealer did not mention. Mike, is this dealer guilty or not guilty of a card collecting crime?
You see where I think he went wrong. So first and foremost, what I will say is always inspect your cards. Don't just go based off of the dealer. So it's not that I'm victim shaming to start, but I do want to put the disclaimer here that it is on the purchaser, on the buyer, to make sure that they inspect the cards, especially if it's one that they intend on grading themselves. Like if I go to a show and I'm picking up a card that is an expensive one and one that I may want to grade at some point, I'm looking at all four of the corners. I'm asking, do you mind if I take it out of the case? Like you could do that. Like I let people do that all the time. I'm usually quite upfront with people. I like to think, and if not, let me know. I believe I am. There's been issues with cards where I have like this one carrier price card and everyone picks it up all the time. I'm like, why is it so cheap? It's miscut. It's got a miscut. It's it just is what it is. It's not mint or gradable or anything like that. So that's why it's cheaper. And I disclose that every time someone picks it up. Now, You don't have to as a vendor. You don't. However, there is nothing more important than your reputation in this hobby. So vendors should come forward with stuff like this because for this exact reason. Now you've got a person who bought something off of you who are very angry because you lied to them. I'm going to say that they're guilty. And the only reason why I believe the vendor is guilty, it's not that he is guilty of selling somebody a damaged card. That happens all the time. And it's not even that he didn't disclose it, it's that he flat out actually said it's flawless and mint, and I'm sending it out for grading. Look, I've used that phrase a lot too, but I'm never lying about it. But it's like this is a gradable card. I've considered sending it out for grading. I've used that line, and it sometimes works, and sometimes people are like, "Well, I don't grade, so it doesn't matter." I'm like, "All right, cool, doesn't matter to me either." Then, um, but you can't say that knowing that there is damage. It's possible that this vendor did not know. It is possible. There's been times I've sold a card. I have a card, or I had a card that had damage on it that I didn't see. Sold it. Guy came back to me about 30 minutes later saying, "Hey, there's damage. You didn't tell me." I said, "I honestly didn't know. I did not see it. I will refund you. I will take the card back. No problem." Like that's not an issue. You can do that. But if you're sitting there saying it's perfect, it's mint, I was going to grade it, meanwhile you know that there is a nicked corner of some kind, or there's edging or whiting or a fingernail dent in it, yeah, that's scummy. And that's where you're guilty. The vendor is guilty. Court adjourned.
Wow. Where's the remote? Let's see the remote.
Wait, what did I do with it? Oh, here it is. Oh, God. Court adjourned. I hereby find the defendant guilty.
Oh my goodness, that was hilarious. No, that was great analysis from you too. I think you took that and ran with it. That was really good. And obviously, shout out this listener for letting us into a little bit of a situation that happened to them. And they actually mentioned to me that they almost felt like they were not scammed, but almost taken advantage of in a deal. In my personal opinion, I do think, and I agree with you, this dealer is definitely guilty. And for that reason, I think it mostly comes from them saying that, look, the card's pristine, it's
Yes.
flawless, and I'm sending it out. And that's also why it's more expensive than a normal comp or normal card, which I totally understand. I've said the same thing too. Look, like you said, if I'm going to grade it or if it is good condition, I might sell it for a little bit more than most people will, which I
Yeah.
agree with is fair.
But at the same time, it is on the buyer to inspect the card themselves at the end of the day. It
Mhm.
is totally on the buyer. And I will say that is the case. Again, if you're told that it's perfect to pristine and it's not, okay, that's where this guy went wrong. But if you sell a card that's not in perfect condition, you're not obligated to say that it's not going to gem or it's not going to get, a 10. You're not obligated to say that. They can find out for themselves if they believe it's going to gem. Who knows? Maybe they just want the raw card and it doesn't matter on the condition. So why would you have to offer that information? It does not really matter. But you can't sit there and say it's perfect, pristine, while very well knowing that there's a big issue with the card and it's not gradable, and you were never going to send it out for grading, and you just lied to get the sale for bad reasons. That's just flat out wrong, and that's why they're guilty.
Yep.
Again, you can sell damaged cards. There's no problem with that. And you don't necessarily even have to say anything because I believe that it is on the buyer to inspect it and decide, okay, I want to buy this or I don't want to buy this. But you can't sit there and talk it up while knowing there's an issue.
Oh
That's
yeah.
where came across as wrong.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's even like when you're dealing with a store and it's on items are on clearance and it's almost just like you're buying with the slogan buyer beware. That's how I always feel when I'm at a card show. And if this was a situation where the dealer didn't say anything about the condition and the person just walked up, bought it for a high sticker, looked at it, brought it home and noticed the dent, I'd say, look,
It's on you.
My hands are tied. I don't even know if this is too much of a debate because it is on you. But either way, to wrap it up for this card courthouse, if you are looking to send in any situations that have occurred at a card show, online, at a deal, and you want Mike's opinion and you want me to read it out to him very professionally and his remote to slam down on the table, give us a call. Send it to us on our Instagram at HockeyCardHavenPod.
Yes, absolutely. We're gonna have to get a gavel though. If we actually start getting a bunch of submissions, we're gonna have to buy a gavel. It's just gonna happen. We're gonna
I
have to
mean,
get it.
it's
It's a
just
good
it's
prop.
not up to us. It's just fate, right?
No,
So,
it's to the people. It's the
yeah.
people. And look, these happen all the time. There's always issues when it comes to negotiating, when it comes to people, whether they're negotiating in bad faith, buying in bad faith. That what you'd mentioned earlier about your young gun situation. I mean, the guy was willing to sell it, and all of a sudden you told him information, and then he said, "Actually, I'm going to pull out of the deal." Kind of a scummy move. It is what it is. There's been many cards that I haven't re-stickered and I got it at a lower price, but guess what? That's my issue. I've got it at a low price. I got a sticker on it. I'm going to honor my sticker price. Now, I'm not going to give you a discount or a deal. I sold a really good card that had a $15 sticker that I know is like a $40 card now, but I had a sticker at 15. That's on
Yeah.
me for not going through my
Yeah.
boxes and re-stickering things.
Yeah,
Right?
at the end of the day, it's a hobby. This isn't Walmart versus Target, and oh well, Walmart honored this price, and this
Yeah.
can was bent, so I got 20% off at the other store. So you guys got to give me. It doesn't work like that. It's dealer to dealer, and the best thing that you said to start off the conversation was, "There's nothing more important in this hobby than your reputation." I 100% agree with that, and I thought that was a really fun segment. Look forward to it next week. Let's get some submissions in here too.
Yes, absolutely. Submit down below in the comment section. Hit us up on Instagram at AB Cards, at Sports Cards GTA, or of course, always at the Hockey Card Haven Pod on Instagram. Okay, really quickly, I want to have this conversation. We kind of got into it, or we started to get into it last week, Anthony, and it's a discussion that you and I have been having for the last couple of weeks now. And it's whether or not young guns investing is the way to go. I know that you have a strong passion for this conversation because we've spoken ad nauseum about it. So why don't you kick things off here? Because I know you've got your own opinions on this. So because I kind of know where you're leaning at this point, why are you starting to get a little bit turned off by young guns flipping?
I mean, I'm very happy to have this conversation. We ended the podcast last week, and I was getting a little bit too fired up near the end when we were pretty much running out of time. And you said, you know what, let's kick this off into next week, punt it to this week's conversation. But for me personally, it was a situation that happened about 2 or 3 weeks ago where I was buying from one of my friends. I was picking up a little bit of cards. It was an assortment. There was like a Josh Norris rookie card, rookie auto, all kinds of assortments of stuff. And he actually asked me, he said, "Hey, I have this Jack Hughes Young Guns PSA 10 that I'm looking to sell." And I said to myself, okay, let me look up comps on this Jack Hughes Young Guns. Comping around $280. So I said to myself, okay, because I'm going to look to move this Jack Hughes Young Guns, I'm probably going to end up moving it for around 250, maybe
60, maybe.
I could push for 260 if someone's really looking to pay a little stronger. Because at the end of the day, no one's paying comps on a card that, first of all, isn't rare, overly populated, and everyone has these cards at a card show. Another point that I want to bring up too, before we get into just the prices of it, is when you're at a card show and you're set up and someone's looking for a young gun card of a player, everyone in the room is borderline going to have it, depending on the size of the show. If you're looking to sell a young gun, you need to have the lowest price in the entire room, especially if you have a Young Guns PSA 10, because you can look at your display case and say, okay, well, 260 is a good deal. It's a great deal. But Buddy over there has the exact same card for 255. And Buddy over there has 5 Jack Hughes Young Guns PSA 10s that he'll move at 200 a piece. So I just think with the ability for there to be so many Young Guns and so many Young Guns graded cards, it's getting tougher and tougher to sell. It's getting tougher and tougher to buy at a good price. And when you are buying at a good price, for an individual that's looking to sell a card for $260 when it's comping at $280, what are you buying that at? You're buying it at 220, maybe 200. Like I offered $200 to the individual that I was having this conversation with, and he said, "You know what, Anthony? I'd love to get a deal done, but I just can't sell it for 200." And I said, "Well, I can't buy it for 220 because I know I'm going to struggle to sell it for 260." And then I took a step back and I said, "Wait." And I thought to myself, I said, "Okay, self," for the fourth time in this conversation, self, why would I spend $220 to make $30 when I can buy a card, a cool patch, a future watch, a card from the cup, something for $50 that I could hold on to, speculate on a player, and could quadruple in value off a lower investment, a rarer card, a less populated card, and a card that people look at and they're like, wow, I've never seen that card before. That's all. I mean, I guess I could do the comp. I mean, I don't want to let it go because I know it's nice. I'm not going to see it on eBay for that price. He's playing well, whoever it might be. Okay, I'll take that nice looking card that, just quadrupled because of the players playing well. So that's where I have a very tough time right now buying Young Guns. And even when you're looking at Jack Hughes, and then I'm going to let you dip into this conversation because I know you're just flaming out or you're ready to go here like a bull with the what's it called, the red towel. You're just ready to
Oh,
go here. But
yeah.
I do think even for lower end Young Guns PSA 10s, I bought a Quinton Byfield Young Guns PSA 10 for $50. I thought I got in at an absolute steal. I go on eBay and I look, they're comping at around $70, which okay, I probably won't move it for $70. I probably won't even move it for $60, borderline, because he's not really playing well and the margins are so small. No one really wants to buy only 10% under comps. And it's just kind of coming to the point where I'm saying, okay, why would I even spend that $50 just to make what, $5? I mean, I'm not going to sell it for 70 unless I'm going to hold on to him. So that's kind of where I stand right now with Young Guns.
Yeah, I had a very like the exact same situation. I bought and sold a card for the same price that day. Literally the exact same price. I just kind of held it in reserve in my case for 5 minutes and didn't make any money off of it. But it was a Cole Caulfield PSA 9 that I picked up in a lot and basically essentially paid $50 for it or $60 for it. And when all said and done, when I put together someone else came to my table, they're putting together a lot of a couple of different young guns, and it pretty much I only got $60 out of it. And I basically got the exact same price. Why? Well, because it's comping at 70 and no one can pay 70. So they gotta come down and pay 60. That's the issue is when it comes to young guns. And this is why I wonder if we're going into a different kind of like wave of the hobby. Like I do believe that Young Guns is definitely like it is the flagship rookie card, so it makes sense that it's the most popular and the most liquid card, but it's also becoming a very difficult card to quick flip. I'll say that. I think that's where the big issue is. It's not necessarily a long-term investment or a gradable investment. It's more so the quick flips that it just doesn't really work out that well anymore because everyone's looking to get a deal because you can't pay full comps because obviously someone's going to try and get it off you for an 85 to 80%. So you can only pay 75 to 80%. But if that's the case, is it even worth it? Right. And then a player goes down, the market goes down, and all of a sudden you're losing some money on it. So there's a lot of issues, I guess, to young guns. And again, supply and demand. So, like you use the Jack Hughes example. Well, Jack Hughes next to Connor Bedard has the highest populated PSA 10 count in hockey card history. So there are quite literally thousands of them out there. How many collectors do you think are buying these? Like, that's my big issue I think I have with the young guns market right now. I feel like a lot of it is just flippers flipping them to each other. And that's not a sound market. I don't know. Like, am I out of line with this thought process? Like, how many times are you buying and selling Young Guns to other people who are looking to buy and sell Young Guns?
I mean, I think it's more the conversation for selling in lots, right? Like if you're looking to continuously sell a big stack of Young Guns to the same people, is that what you're getting at?
Just even a one off. Like, if I'm looking to buy a Matthews Young Guns,
Yeah.
right? Like, for example, like, you buy a Matthews Young Gun, you get one raw for $400. Right?
Okay.
They're selling for, let's just say, selling for 450. Well, I would like to buy it off you for $400 because,
Mhm.
like, I don't want to spend 400 and only make, 5% off it. So I got to get at 400. Well, guess what? That's what you paid for it. So you can't give me a deal. So, like, it's not going to work out that way. So either you're going to take a loss or I'm going to have to overpay and then ultimately only make 20 bucks off the deal. It just doesn't make any sense.
I just think right now margins are becoming smaller and smaller on Young Guns. It's getting harder to grade Young Guns. People are starting to have an eye for cards that are good quality or good condition, sorry, and cards that they want to send out to PSA, to Beckett, to SGC, to MNT, whatever it might be. It's very tough, very, very tough at the end of the day to make money in this hobby. And at the end of the day, we're trying to bridge the gap for people out there looking to make deals, looking to revolutionize the sorry, I just had a big word blunder there. Revolutionize the way they collect because the first time that I started to collect cards, I always thought it was a one-way street. You kind of just buy a card, you sell a card, you buy a card, you grade a card, you sell a card. But what you don't realize now is you can buy all different types of cards. You could trade out of cards. You can pick up Young Guns. You could pick up Future Watches, the Cup. And now with Young Guns starting to be so overly populated, we're seeing crazy pop counts with Connor Bedard. And if you have no knowledge to how bad that's been the past year, you could go back to a couple episodes where we've talked about it too,
Oh,
because the pop counts are just
well over 6,000 PSA 10 pops. I checked about 3 days ago, I think it was, and it was up to like 6,300
and it's just crazy.
and
It's way
counting.
too crazy. Well, to close out this conversation, I wanted to show an example of exactly what I'm talking about. And if you are watching on YouTube right now, I wanted to show an Aiden Hill. Oh, look at that. That's nice too.
Well, again, I want to show an example, right? What did you say you paid for your Quentin By, or what's the Quentin Byfield Young Guns going for?
It was like $50, $60.
Okay, what would you rather have? This cup on card auto of Marcel Dion, Hall of Famer, which it's not numbered, but it's short printed. It's the
Yeah.
cup to show signatures, short
Yeah.
printed set. Would you rather have this, which you ever seen this card before?
I've never seen that. It looks I love the jerseys too. Those yellow and purple jerseys are nasty.
Yeah, they are nasty, but not the way that you're referring to. The original form of nasty. Those are ugly, hideous
No.
jerseys. But anyway, uh, I also would prefer this, but guess what? It's the same price basically. This I've gotten a trade valued at 60 bucks, which is exactly
That's
what the
crazy.
Byfield is valued at.
Yeah.
$60 for this. But guess what? If you want this, Anthony, you want this, I'm putting an $80 sticker on it.
Yeah.
And if you want it, you're not going to go next door and get it.
No, it's true. And
But you'll do that with a Byfield Young Guns because you can.
that's the argument right there. You
There's
can go find it from someone else. You can go on Facebook Marketplace. You can go to these groups. You could find these Young Guns PSA 10s, but you're not going to go out and find that Marcel Dion like you talked about. This was the card I want to pull up for those of you watching on YouTube. I did post a couple weeks ago a Aiden Hill the Cup RPA. So if you are looking on YouTube, beautiful three-color patch, nice auto. I believe these are numbered out of 249. I priced it at $80. I think valued around 100, which is the exact same value of his PSA 10. Now you tell me, what would you rather have? And what do you think is rare? What do you think people will look at and be like, wow, look, that's a nice card?
I don't have to think. I know for a fact his cup RPA is rare. There's only 249 of them. I guarantee
Yeah.
you there's probably 249 PSA 10s. Just 10s out there, I would imagine.
I'll push back on that. I'd say there's less. I'll push back on that.
I'll look it up right now, but I would imagine, especially after the Stanley Cup run, that a lot of people probably started to submit some of their PSA 10 Young Guns,
I'm gonna
which,
push
by the
back
way, is
on that
now
because I'm
down to
interested.
70. It's only down to $71.
Mhm.
There's a total pop count at PSA of 122.
Hey,
Only
sharp,
47 tens actually.
sharp, sharp.
But anyway,
Some would say sharp.
regardless, there's a lot more raw out there and thousands and
Oh,
thousands
for
and
sure. And
thousands.
also don't forget too, where my kind of bet to say that there is less than 249 was this used to be a dollar young gun. I'm sure they've been in the dollar bins. They've probably been thrown around. And I feel like when people even went to go submit them, half of the cards they were looking at were all beat up either way. So that's just kind of my stipulation with Aiden Hill young guns. Cause I remember talking to vendors and they said the same thing about Tage Thompson. They were like, well, I had like 50 of these all in penny
Yeah.
sleeves, and I went to go pull them out to grade, and at least 45 of them were just beat up or something was wrong with the corner. So
Yeah,
if
true.
you are collecting dollar young guns, put them in top loaders, sleeve them up, do all that good stuff.
Very, very true. Yeah, I'd be curious to get your thoughts. Let us know too your thoughts when it comes to investing, flipping in the young guns market, and if there's any kind of issues you see with it. Or maybe Anthony and I are out to lunch. I don't know. Perhaps that is the case, but it's just something that we've noticed over the last couple of years, that we've mentioned to each other from time to time, and thought maybe we bring the conversation onto the podcast. Today was the release of Artifacts, by the way. So the first, we'll call it the first good set of the 2024-25 class, came out today. There's, redemptions for some of the top rookies when it comes to a lot of memorabilia cards and autograph cards. But yeah, chance to get yourself some of the first Macklin Celebrini and Matvey Michkov cards. Get some autos, get some jersey cards, some patch cards, lots of good stuff within that. So 24-25 artifacts out today. Just a reminder that the Hockey Card Haven podcast is now powered by Slabsharks, the number one sports consignment company in Canada. They've got thousands of listings each week that you can go and bid on their eBay site. Each Thursday, they've got thousands of items that are being auctioned off. You can check it out at the Slabsharks eBay. And here are a couple of our favorite cards that are available this week at the eBay store, up for auction. You can go and bid these up if you want to go buy them. You're more than welcome to. So why don't we show off the first card that I see here, and let's take a look at the one that you chose, the Shane Wright card here, Anthony. Why don't you talk a little bit about it?
So for this Shane Wright card, when it's pulled up, like we talked about with the cup and cards, I have my eye on everything out of the cup, everything short printed, and I wanted to pull up a Shane Wright card because he's been playing so well this week. For everyone that knows me, I'm a big fantasy guy. I mention it all the time. Picked him up in fantasy. He's been unreal. I know they've had some big games, winning 7-5 the other night. I believe he had a tough game against Florida last night fantasy wise, but this is a beautiful rookie auto tag of Shane Wright out of 4 from the cup, his rookie. You don't see cards like this all the time. And when you want to talk about some of the best cards for a player, I think anything out of the cup for a player is their best cards. And when you can find it on auction, you want to bid it up. You want to go spend whatever it is that you want to spend on a rare card. And that's where the argument, like we talked about a couple a couple segments ago with Young Guns versus rare cards. And this is a beautiful card. Love it. Love the red auto. You don't see stuff like that all the time. And I don't think I'm going to personally bid on Shane Wright for this one just yet. But if you are a Shane Wright collector, this is most definitely the card you want to grab from Slab Sharks.
Very nice card. I agree. He is starting to finally put it together, which is nice to see. If for any Shane Wright fan or any other fan out there, you want to also show off this card here, buddy. What's special about this bad boy?
So this is the Josh Norris Future Watch Inscribe. I don't know if you could scroll it up a little bit. I think we're blocking. There we go. And I was actually looking for a Josh Norris card because he's been playing so well. And I believe this was the only one of relevance on Slabsharks. There was another like $10 auto. And then I kind of remembered that this is Eric's card. So Eric, shout out if you are listening. This is his card, so maybe a little bit of a free promo for your card right there. But
Hit it
either
up.
way, I do think that this is a great card because he's playing really, really good hockey right now.
Yeah, he is. He is playing really well. That man, you don't see a lot of these inscribed cards pop up all too often. So it is nice to see when they finally do pop up from time to time. What was the Sam Reinhart card you wanted to look at too? Let's pull that bad boy up,
Yep.
and then you can take a look at that as well. There we go. Bam.
Yeah, last card. Here we go. And there's actually 4 of them on auction right now. So if you are looking for big Sam Reinhart cards, these are the cards to collect right now besides the Future Watch or Future Watch patch auto. You want to get stuff from the cup. And out of the 4 cards, this was the best one with the nicest patch. 3 color there. Absolutely love it. And another player super undervalued. He will win the Rocket Richard, and I know we made that bet a couple weeks ago. I actually ended up making a bet with one of my good buddies, Colin, last night. We were watching the Leafs game together. We were talking about Reinhardt, and we made a bet for some dinner. So shout out Coco, because I will be taking that free pound of wings and beer after our Sunday night hockey game when Reinhardt wins the Rockets. So I mean, this card's going to go for cheap. I think it's going to go for cheaper than what it's worth. So.
Yeah, I think so too. He's got a pretty soft market, but he is going to be the runner up for the Rocket. Just so you know, just so you're
All right.
aware.
I wouldn't say bet on it because we already did. So
Is Kirill Kaprizov's going to be this year's MVP? Because if so, his Cup RPA is available on Slabsharks as well. We're taking a look at a 2021 Upper Deck the Cup rookie patch auto number 299. Do you notice something a little different about this one, Anthony?
Nothing directly.
Nothing
No.
sticks out that's
No.
different about this specific RPA from the Cup as opposed to the other ones you were looking at?
I mean, if it's going to be the sticker auto, I know that's been a conversation. I remember that when it came out.
That is exactly what I'm referring to. Kirill Kaprizov, for those who don't know, didn't hand sign his Cup cards, did not hand sign really many of his rookie cards that typically are signed, the bigger tier products. And it's unfortunately a lot of his big cards are sticker signed, and that actually impacts the value a lot. I was speaking with actually, no, I was listening to, I was speaking with a Kirill Kaprizov collector, but I was also listening to the Hockey Card Gong Show guys, and they were talking about some of their favorite cards. And Josh is a big Kaprizov collector with them being
Hmm.
out in Minnesota. And he specifically said he doesn't like to collect the big Kaprizov cards because of the sticker autos. It bothers him. A Kaprizov collector not collecting these because it's a sticker auto. And I think that that's really interesting and something to kind of keep an eye on for Kaprizov because look, he's having an MVP worthy season right now. It's a toss up between him and Nathan McKinnon as to who's going to win the MVP this year. Still a long ways to go, but right now those two are the front runners. And it's just so unfortunate that his Cup RPA is a sticker auto and not on card.
Uh, Are,
Definitely
are,
devalues it. Certainly
are
does.
arguably his best card too.
Right.
Arguably, and it's a sticker
Yeah.
auto is just terrible. And are these, if you click in the top left there to flip this card over, are they game use patches also? Because I think there was a conversation with
Yeah,
that
I
as
believe
well.
having been worn
Yeah,
by the
see, so
player.
this was another, yeah, this was, they weren't game use. So this year with the cup, I remember when it came out, people were really, really banging the table. They were not happy.
Well, this would have
Rightfully so.
been Lafreniere's rookie year. Cousins would have been this year.
Stutzla?
Jason Robertson would have been this year. Stutzla would have been this year. Yeah, the 2021 class
Hmm.
would have been this year. Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing too. So not game used and sticker auto for Kirill Kaprizov Cup RPAs. Oh, so upsetting. I got
Brutal.
one more card that I want to show. that is on the Slabsharks auction this week, and it's a grail, an
Oh
absolute
my
grail.
goodness.
Absolute grail has hit the market via Slabsharks auctions. It is the 1966 Topps Bobby Orr rookie card number 35 in the set. It's up to $1,300 so far, and obviously it is not in good condition. You can see if you're watching on YouTube, it's fairly beat up. Every corner, has big time creases and is indented, and it's got a little bit of marking, surface wear and tear. It is in terrible condition and would grade out as a PSA 1. I can guarantee that. However, this is a holy grail hockey card. Every collector wishes to have one of these in their collection. I being one of them. Eventually, I do plan on owning a Bobby Orr rookie card. Maybe I'll bid on this one. Perhaps I will bid on this one here if I can get it for a good price. But I thought that it was pretty cool because cards like this don't pop up all that often on eBay. And for Slab Sharks to get one of these bad boys on consignment, I thought was pretty sweet.
And I think too, for someone, if you are listening right now and you've been waiting to get a grail from as a Bobby Orr collector, as a hockey collector, I think right now in a PSA 1, I just checked comps going for around $3,000. So still very cheap right now. And even Mike, like you mentioned, if you've been waiting a long time to get a Bobby Orr card from a company that you trust, where you can go maybe even pick it up, get it for a good shipping option, a very reputable seller on eBay. Obviously, a supporter, and we are definitely powered by Slab Sharks, but I can flat out say that this is the company that you want to go to when you are turning to high value cards. You want to be able to pick up your cards, be trusted with shipping your cards. I think that this is definitely a card that if you are a collector, you need to turn to now. It's ending in 1 day. And this is the time because you don't see cards like this pop up all the time. Usually, people with raw ones are looking for much more because they could still grade it, or maybe there's something, an aspect to it that they don't want to send it to the US to get it graded. I think right now this is very cheap. If you're looking to pick up a Bobby Orr, this is the auction for you, and definitely pick it up through Slab Sharks.
So just really quickly, just to marvel at Bobby Orr's statistics. I guess I can bring this up actually, and we can look at it together. Look at the from 21 to 20. Also, I don't know why I didn't realize that he had like retired so early. Um, Look at from age 21 to 26. Look at how many points this guy accumulated.
Oh,
120, 139, 117, 101, 122, 135. As a defenseman, the guy was a walking, talking 100-point defenseman,
wow.
and in that range of 5, 6 years, was it 6 years? 7 years. He averaged 122 points a game, which was an 82 game pace of 134.
Oh my goodness. That's just
Like
unreal.
outrageous stuff. Absolutely outrageous stuff. And look at that. 3 times he topped over the century mark for PIMS. So he was getting penalties too. Look at that. Norris, Hart,
He's
one, 2, 3, 4 Norris or 4 Hart trophies, multi-time finalist, won the Norris each and every season. God, this guy was so good.
Look at that. Every year he played, he won the
Oh,
Norris. That's
yeah.
ridiculous. He won the Norris. What is that? 11
One,
or
two,
pretty
three,
much the last
four,
two
five,
besides the last
six,
two.
7, 8 years. 8 years in a row he won the Norris. So if you were a defenseman through the late 60s, early 70s, you just you knew you were playing for second place.
Wow, that's
Playing
crazy.
for second place when it
Love it
came
though.
to
Love it.
yeah. So you can go and get yourself a Bobby or rookie card on the Slab Sharks auction, weekly auctions held every single Thursday. So make sure you check out their eBay listings this week and bid on what you would like to purchase. All right, pickups of the week, Anthony. We both were at a card show this past weekend. I was set up as a vendor, but ended up buying a heck of a lot more than I sold. I think it's a good time to buy. Like, side note, it's a good time to be buying right now. Lots of people looking to get some extra cash for Christmas gifts and might be willing to part with some cards. So I was doing a little bit more buying than selling at the show in Dundas, but I still had some nice pickups, as did you. So why don't you show off a couple of your top pickups from this weekend?
Yeah, so I ended up picking up a good amount of cards, 3 that I pinpointed and wanted to show on the episode. So for everyone watching on YouTube right now, so I have maybe I could show some flashes a little easier, but a William Nylander Premier out of 25. Beautiful patch. This is out of Premier and it's from his rookie year. I always loved when he was wearing number 29 also.
29.
I thought this was a really awesome patch. Love it. I believe it is game use or it is event use. So a little bit disappointed with that, but still out of 25. Nice and shiny. Great looking 2-color patch. So I was really happy to pick up that. Second up, ended up picking up this really sweet Nathan McKinnon exclusives out of 100. Very, very simple card, but cool photo, cheaper card, perfect card to put into a one touch and maybe ask $40. I mean, seems pretty fair for a card like that. Maybe $30. I don't know. Maybe I'll get a good trade at the next expo, but I was really happy to get into that. That's actually one of my favorite jerseys as well of the Colorado Avalanche. My cousin actually, we almost bought a Makar one a couple years ago. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then last up, I ended up picking this up for $20. Usually I don't drop prices, but I think this was really fair for this Ovechkin Young Guns with the checklist. Sorry. I know it's a BCC
With Jeff Carter.
with Jeff Carter on it as well,
Yeah.
but I know it's a BCCG 10, which isn't as desirable, but I do think that it still has some value in the 10 and definitely being
No, it
in a slab. I don't know. I just think
No.
that personally,
If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. So I might. There is a site out there. I don't know if it's BCCG, whatever the hell it is,
okay.
where you literally just you tell them BCCG. You tell
Yeah.
them what grade you want, and they
Oh,
just put it
really?
on. Yeah, and it might be that company.
No. No, this is Beckett.
No, it's not really though.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't look at the 10 and think there's any added value. If I ever see BCCG, do you add value to it? Because I value it raw.
I mean, it was valued at Raw, and I picked it up for a slab price. So I personally thought that was fair because usually I think these were going for like $40. I believe they're going for around $40, or at their
Oh,
peak they
yeah,
were.
Ovi. I mean, with him being on the go, I'm just saying. The slab. I don't know if that adds
Not too
much
much, not
value.
too much, but I'd
Yeah.
say a little bit more than a Raw is fair.
Do you think mint adds value? You a big fan of mint cards, M&T?
I think so. I think they add a little bit of value depending on the grade. If it's a 8.5 or a 9, it's a little tougher. But if it's a 9.5, I mean, I do think it does add some value compared to a raw. Personal preference, though. Personal preference.
Picked up a
Hey,
9.5 mint Carey Price in a trade this
hey,
past weekend. So that
adds
was one
value.
card that I did grab, and I also agree with you on that point. I think 8.59. You're more so looking at raw. If you can get a gem mint at 9.5, then I believe that you've added a little bit more value. I think a mint 9.5 is maybe similar, maybe a little bit less than a PSA 9. Just
Close.
a little less
Close.
than a 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one card that I grabbed. I got a Tim Stützle rookie jersey auto number to 165. That was pretty cool. It's a cool
Nice.
looking jersey too, and I believe the memorabilia has been is it worn. Let's get this tape off. Yeah, worn by the featured player, so not used. But I did think that like it's a cool on card auto.
Nice. I like it.
I like of Timmy Stu, your boy Dylan Gunther, rookie
Ooh,
Ice Premier auto number to 199.
beauty.
I like that as well. Dylan Gunther and Cole Sillinger, who's actually having a pretty solid
Mm.
year. I picked him up in fantasy. Look at me making some fantasy
Hey, there we
references
go.
not too long ago. Seems to be picking up a point every other game in the last couple of weeks. I grabbed one of his cards. It is
Nice.
the Black Diamond Silver on Black rookie signatures on card. It's like the silver on a black slate, numbered to 25. So a nice rookie auto to 25. That $30. I got a little bit cheaper than
Fair.
that. Was
I
a
think that's fair.
pretty good deal for Cole Sillinger, who's in my opinion, only going up. He's playing really, really well. And then I never owned one, but I picked up a Brett Hull rookie card. Brett Hull from was his 1988. Yeah, O-Pee-Chee Brett Hull rookie. So I am now the owner of a Brett Hull rookie card. Also, Brett Hull, greatest Stanley Cup speech of all time when he was with the St. Louis Blues at the Blues after they won the cup. Remember the Gloria?
I gotta.
No,
the Gloria. I know the Gloria. I haven't
the recent, not when he was playing.
Yeah.
Not when he was playing. When he was an alumni, the Gloria. Oh yeah, there was a lot of stuff there. I think I already showed it, but the Marcel Dion Cup auto as well, I picked up in a nice trade. So those were some of the big pickups that I had over the weekend. Bunch of other little stuff too. I for some reason did a lot of buying over this past week. There's some upcoming shows this weekend. The Beachside Card Show in Georgina. Where's Georgina?
I have I have absolutely no idea.
Me either. It's somewhere in the GTA though, because it was on the GTA Sports Card Show website. But Beachside Card Show, 90 Wexford Drive in Georgina, Ontario. $15 admission, tad high, but I don't know. If you go, let us know how that is. And then the M&L Card Show down in St. Catharines, which is the local card show for myself. Typically, I may or may not be there. By the way, Anthony, I might not be in attendance. Yes, but I could be. We'll see.
He's a man of mystery. That's usually my slogan. A little bit of I don't know if I'll be there, but either way, I will be at M&L. So I will be walking around with Eric. Then we're heading to our buddies to watch a little bit of football. Nice. So if you are at the M&L show and you're looking to consign some cards with Slabsharks, come talk to us because we will more than likely be taking cards back if you would like to have them dropped off to Slabsharks. Or if you're just coming to the show and you want to talk hockey as per usual, I will be there. Mike will more than likely be there, I assume.
I had a new roommate moving in, and he's moving in either Saturday or Sunday. So if it's Sunday, I gotta be here for the move-in. If it's Saturday, I could probably scoot down. So it just depends on that schedule. But either way, our boy Al's cousin will be in attendance too.
Yep. So shout out Brandon.
Shout out Brandon, Al's cousin, aka our new social media coordinator. Follow us on social media, Hockey Card Haven Pod on Instagram and also now on TikTok as well. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe right here on YouTube, and you can also listen to us on the go on Spotify. We'll be back next Wednesday with another episode of the Hockey Card Haven podcast.